Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to make my maiden speech. And I would just like to congratulate all the other members who've made their maiden speeches this evening, from the whisky and sausages of Glasgow West to the pottery of Stoke-on-Trent and the young people of Croydon, and the beautiful tour of North East Hampshire, which I have driven through many, many times. But I would particularly like to pay tribute to my colleague from Stoke-on-Trent South for delivering an incredibly powerful and moving maiden speech with no notes. So very impressive. Joining in with this debate on the role of technology in public services is very relevant, following several conversations I had during recess about the challenges of connecting Devon, and in particular the South Hams and Dartmoor, to high-speed internet. It's something I will be coming back to with the Minister. But if we are going to support rural communities, small businesses, the self-employed and those studying online, then we have to get them connected. But we must also be aware of the danger of digital exclusion. For all those who cannot use computers, particularly for older people, we must ensure that there is always a decent working offline alternative to apps and QR codes. I'm very proud to say that I am the first non-Conservative MP to be elected in my large rural constituency for over 100 years. It had a very short flirtation with liberalism in 1923, when Henry Vivian was elected. Sadly, he only lasted 10 months before being replaced by another Conservative. Vivian was the founder of the cooperative housing movement, and it's a real shame that he didn't last a bit longer, because we could really do with his legacy in South Devon. It is a spectacular part of the UK, from the Art Deco hotel sitting atop Burr Island to the eastern slopes of Dartmoor, the rivers Dart and Avon that meander south to the sea, and the headland at Berry Head, where you can spot dolphins playing in the water, to the rolling hills and hedges of the South Hams. This is the place I made home 17 years ago after leaving London. I took my two small daughters to Devon to be near a family after the death of my husband from cancer in 2003, and it's great that they are both with us today. Being widowed at 34 with very young children is a brutal experience, but it taught me many things. The power of community, the value of friendship and family, the strength of support from kindred spirits. And here I would like to pay tribute to the Widowed and Young organisation, which I chaired for a couple of years. Now, hanging out with a bunch of widows may not sound like much fun. But being with people who understand what you're going through at a difficult time, who can truly empathise, is transformational. So I will always champion community and support groups who bring people together. Leaving London for a rural community was a bit of a gamble. Busy London play parks were replaced by empty fields, and I was almost the only single parent in the school. I did feel like an outsider. We had no internet connection, and we had to dial in through a satellite dish on the roof, which did drive me completely insane. But we got some battery hens, and we watched in awe as their feathers grew back and they began laying eggs again, and I learnt to manage a septic tank and oil-fired central heating. I navigated the complete lack of buses and the absence of breakfast and after-school clubs, which was not easy for a single working mother. Rural life poses many extra challenges. So 3 years later, we moved into Totnes. I met my lovely second husband, and this special town became home. It is a town that is often described as alternative, but I prefer to say it's a place that knows the meaning of the word community. A place where it's quite normal to question the idea that a planet with finite resources can support infinite growth. A place where the seriously wealthy question why they are not being taxed more to support those who have less. A place where radical thinking is seen as a really important thing to do. My constituency is where Agatha Christie lived, by the River Dart, and further downstream, naval recruits are trained at Britannia Royal Naval College. We have wild camping on Dartmoor, long may it continue, paddleboarding in the bay, surfing on the south coast, and the world's biggest pirate festival in Brixham. Ancient family farms and stunning beaches and thousands of miles of hedgerows, and the revival of the Searle bunting, a success story championed by my predecessor but one, Sarah Wollaston, who sat on several benches in this house. From near extinction, there are now over 1,000 Searle bunting pairs singing from the farmland of South Devon and Cornwall because of the environmental work done by farmers in my constituency, proof that farming for food and restoring nature can go hand in hand. We have one of the country's largest fish markets at Brixham, as well as shell fishermen, oyster farms and scallop divers. An energetic conversation about sustainability and the long-term future of the fishing industry is being had, and I will work with fishers and scientists so that we can create policy here that ensures we can continue to fish while protecting stocks for the future. I also pay tribute to my predecessor, Anthony Mangnall, who worked hard to establish the Independent Lifeboat Association, and they, together with the RNLI, provide an incredible emergency service for all those who work or play on the water. On land, we have hundreds of hospitality businesses that offer a brilliant experience, and I recommend you all come and try them out. But they have taken a massive hit over the past few years, and they really need our support now to survive. But there is so much more to South Devon that doesn't make it onto the postcards or the chocolate boxes. We have Britain's most expensive seaside town in Salcombe, where an average house costs £970,000. But not far away, we have left-behind neighbourhoods where people struggle to make ends meet on low-paid seasonal work and live in poor-quality housing. This disparity of wealth can be hard to get your head around. So I would like us to think really hard and creatively in this place about how we can help even out our society so that no one is raising a disabled child in a mould-filled home within sight of a millionaire's yacht in the harbour below. The lack of public transport leads to loneliness, isolation, and adds to the lack of opportunities for our young people for work and socialising. We must invest in it as a public good. Our schools in Devon are hugely underfunded compared to schools across the UK, again impacting the life chances of our children. We have communities that have been literally hollowed out by second homes to the extent that schools are closing, village shops have long gone, and the last pubs are closing. Families are being evicted so landlords can turn their homes over to short-term holiday lets. And second homes registered as businesses are causing our council to lose out on millions of pounds a year of desperately needed resources. We must close this loophole. We have businesses struggling to get staff because no one can afford to live nearby and there is no social housing. Yet developers build and build to support the immigration of wealthy retired from other areas of the country. We have more than met our housing targets, but we are still in a desperate housing crisis. The solution is not just build, build, build. It's about land prices, what we build and where, and who buys those homes. What we need is social housing, more community land trust schemes, innovation and ideas to break out of the developer-led disaster we are in. We are the home of innovation and good ideas, and I would like to quickly highlight one particular organisation, Landworks, and I declare an interest here as I worked there for 6 months in 2018. Landworks is an inspirational prisoner rehabilitation charity, which I hope the new Prisons Minister will soon visit, given the crisis we are in nationally. The amazing work that happens here is shown to cut reoffending rates and reintegrates prisoners into society. We also have a growing cluster of high-tech photonics companies attracting talent from home and abroad, providing highly skilled jobs, exactly the kind of modern manufacturing this country desperately needs. So it was disappointing to hear last week that they are missing out on partnerships, funding and investment because of Brexit, with one company weighing up whether it will now move its headquarters out of the UK and into the EU. You won't be surprised to hear that as a former member of the European Parliament for the South West who got involved in politics in June 2016, I will continue to try and find ways to mitigate and lessen the damage that Brexit has caused, particularly to my shellfish exporters, my food and wine importers, our musicians, and all those sectors that are struggling to find staff. Yeah. South Devon is a constituency of many parts, and it is right up there at the top of the list of the most challenging constituencies in which to deliver Lib Dem leaflets. So I want to finish by expressing my heartfelt thanks to, well, maybe Jamie beats me, yeah? I want to express my heartfelt thanks to an incredible group of volunteers who supported my campaign, many of whom were not Liberal Democrats, and who were lending their vote and their time and their shoe leather because they wanted to be represented by a different kind of voice. And also, my dad. with us today who never tired of campaigning to help me get here. And I would just like to say, I'm really sorry I didn't campaign harder for you in 1983 when you came quite close to sitting on these benches. I couldn't have done it without them all, and it is the honour of my life to represent them and all the residents of South Devon. I will work hard every day for them, for our environment, for our planet, and for a different kind of politics.